This is Ryan from ScreenFiles.com with my 2 cents. Today I'm going to give you not 1, not 2, not even 3, but I'm going to give you 4 reasons why Fox cannot manage the Marvel Studios franchises that they currently run. This is something you already knew, but bear with me anyway. The first reason that Fox is not very well equipped to manage the Marvel Comics properties that they have is that they seem to forget that these things are based on comic books. My point being that if you recall the first X-Men film, the costumes were made of black leather. There were little color accents, but on the whole, very subdued. And at the time, that made sense. There was a logic to it. They probably thought that audiences wouldn't be receptive to very bright colors and having these costumes more resemble the way they looked in the comics. There's a logic to that, and at the time I think that was actually a good decision. But not anymore, because a little upstart studio named Marvel came along and they started making these comic characters faithful to the way they looked in the comics for the most part. And even in cases where they're not so faithful, let's say the Falcon. If you notice, from movie to movie, he's starting to resemble more and more the comic character. They're still, in terms of their look, quite different, but the costumes are becoming more colorful and less military orientated. So, and in general, Marvel sticks to the way these characters look in the comics when it is applicable. When it's not, or when it would look frankly goofy, they change it up. So Fox is kind of late on getting on the bandwagon, and I think their movies are suffering for it. It's only one aspect of their mismanagement, but it's an important one. For instance, I mentioned the X-Men. If you recall X-Men The Last Stand, that was where they introduced the concept of Dark Phoenix. And if you look at the image of the Dark Phoenix from the movie compared with the Dark Phoenix from the comics, you'll see that they tried to capture the essence of what that character was about, and they didn't succeed very well. It was visually too distant from what the character actually looks like, and I think they paid for it. So Fox, one of the issues, as I said, is that Fox doesn't get these characters, and the visual aspect of how to present it is important. In fact, it could almost be said to be crucial. What do you think of when you hear the name Galactus? If you're a Marvel Comics fan, you know that's the name of possibly the most powerful entity in the Marvel Comics universe. A being of vast power, omnipotence, but who's flawed. And his flaw is that he has to feed on planets to survive. So for him to live, entire civilizations have to die. It's an awesome concept, and a character that's tragic in some levels as well. So, in the Fox movie, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, what do? They turn all that potential into a cloud. Yes, a friggin' cloud. Now keep in mind that there was some earlier concept drawings for that movie really took the cloud concept and did some interesting things with it. Unfortunately, those concepts were not seen in the movie for the most part. So all viewers got was a cloud. If you had heard of Galactus before, you're like, WTF? What the? And validly so. But if you haven't heard of Galactus, what you probably thought to yourself was, it's a cloud. The planet's being destroyed by a cloud. We're not talking about a V'ger cloud even from the original Star Trek the motion picture, which was cool. And again, to harken back to the concept they were originally going to work with, it was along those lines. The cloud contained Galactus and his spaceship within it. And they would have shown hints throughout the movie, like some of the images I'm showing you right now. That would have been cool. But instead, they just went with a cloud. Not cool at all. Don't get me wrong, Wolverine is an awesome character. He's brutal, he's animalistic, he's noble, he embodies so much of what makes a superhero awesome. So, again, I'm not saying that he's not a cool character, he's great. But the thing of it is, with Fox, what they did was they kind of sidelined everybody else and pushed Wolverine to the fore. And that's problematic. Because if you've ever followed the X-Men, you have Storm, you have Cyclops, you have Beast, you have Iceman, you have some great characters. And I understand that not everyone can be at the top. I get that. But the thing is, Wolverine doesn't necessarily deserve to be there. His story was always pushed forward in the Fox movies to the regret of all those other characters. Storm is an awesome character in the comics. She embodies some of the same things that I just praised Wolverine for, minus the ferocity. That's not really her thing. But you're never going to see that in those movies because they don't emphasize it. Cyclops was treated even worse than Storm. And Storm was treated pretty badly. Cyclops was treated even worse. So the problem with the Fox movies is they emphasize Wolverine at the cost of everyone else. If you're following an approach like Marvel does, for instance, with the Avengers movies, everyone gets a little bit of the action, and they're really good about that. Everyone gets some time in the spotlight. And in the individual movies, the characters, let's say it'd be Wolverine's movie. Rather, in the case of Marvel, it would be Iron Man's movie, or Captain America's movie, or Thor's movie. They're given the spotlight. Even if another hero stars in their movie, it's still their movie. Fox doesn't do that. So in the X-Men movies, they overemphasize Wolverine, and he gets his own solo films. And it's out of whack. And greed is all that motivates it. It's the fact that Wolverine is popular, and so they don't give anyone else a chance, as opposed to creating more ensemble pieces, giving everyone a moment in the sun, and then spinning off with solo movies, like they did the Wolverine movie, which was a mess. But that was because they didn't honor the characters in it, particularly Deadpool, who was bizarre. So all Fox needs to do to improve the situation, which I don't see happening, is to honor the characters. Treat them with respect. Give everyone some time in the sun. Most of the Fox X-Men movies were profitable for the most part, but most implies some weren't, and that is the case. X-Men The Last Stand was actually not profitable. It lost money if you look upon the figures that are available from boxofficemojo.com and take the rule, typically a film to be in the black needs to earn at least 3 times its production costs. So you're covering, that takes care of things like promotion and advertising as well. So using that metric, X-Men The Last Stand was a financial failure. X-Men First Class also didn't do very well. X-Men Days of Future Past was profitable. X-Men Days of Apocalypse was profitable, but significantly less so than X-Men Days of Future Past, which, taken into account the way Fox doesn't seem to understand the characters, the way they seem to lack faith in the viewer, i.e. Galactus Cloud, and the way these movies are not are very uneven in terms of profitability are indications to me that Fox does not understand comic characters for the most part.